Another neighbor, Justin Smith, told RCMP that at 1:30 a.m. he heard a car turn around by the railroad tracks near the area of Gairloch Road and Lansdowne Station Road. He said it made a noise, then the vehicle was quiet for about 2 minutes, then drove off towards Lairg Road.
Good evening, my friends. My name is Joseph. Thank you for being here with me, and for the kindness you show by spending this time together. If you are finding a home here, if these stories of searching for truth matter to you, please consider subscribing to this channel and joining our community. Your support enables us to continue this vital work, to ask the tough questions, and to never forget the names and faces of those we seek to find. Thank you from my heart. Tonight, we are going to walk through a story that is both a tragedy and a revelation. It is the story of how the truth can hide in plain sight, and how the silent, everyday things around us, the devices in our homes, the data from our phones, the very earth beneath our feet, can become the most powerful witnesses of all. This is the story of Lily and Jack Sullivan. For 7 long months, their disappearance was a dark mystery. The official story, told by their parents, Daniel Martel and Malia Brooks Murray, was that the children had simply wandered off from their rural Nova Scotia home. It was a story of a terrible accident, a parent's worst nightmare. The community rallied. Search teams combed the vast, dense woods. The entire nation held its breath, hoping for a miracle. But from the very beginning, there was a whisper of doubt. Not a shout, but a quiet, persistent question in the minds of many who followed the case. The story felt fragile. The timeline felt wrong. And as the weeks turned to months with no trace, that whisper grew louder. The police, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, worked in silence. While the public debated and searched online, the investigators were following a different path. They were not just looking in the woods. They were learning to listen. They were learning to listen to the silent witnesses. Our story truly begins not with a loud event, but with a quiet, ordinary moment. It is May 1st. The time is 2:25 in the afternoon. In a Dollarama store, a security camera records a simple, everyday scene. A family is shopping. A man, a woman, and 2 small children. They walk down the aisle. They pick up a few things. They go to the checkout. This grainy, silent video is the last time anyone outside of their home saw Lily and Jack Sullivan alive. After this moment, the children vanish from the world's view. For the next 20 hours, there are no more pictures, no more videos, no sightings by friends or neighbors. For 20 hours, the only people who can tell the story of what happened to Lily and Jack are their parents, Danielle and Malia. 20 hours is a very long time. When the police began to peel back the layers of those 20 hours, they started with the house itself. The Sullivan home, like so many of our homes, was full of smart devices. A speaker that listens for commands. A thermostat that learns your schedule. These devices are quiet, but they are not dumb. They log data. They keep records of simple things. And on the night of May 1st, these devices began to tell a story that was very different from the one Danielle and Malia told. At 9:45 that night, a smart speaker in the hallway near the children's bedrooms recorded a sudden, sharp spike in noise. It wasn't music. It wasn't a voice command. It was a loud, sudden sound that was over as quickly as it began. And then, something even more strange happened. Silence. A deep, unnatural silence from the part of the house where 2 young, lively children should have been. No late-night whispers. No creaks of a bed. Nothing. Then, the thermostat spoke. At 10 p.m., someone overrode the system. In a house in Nova Scotia, in the mild spring weather, the heat was cranked up to 82 degrees. It was kept there, blazing hot, for hours. There is no normal reason to turn your home into an oven in the middle of the night. But forensic experts know one reason. Heat speeds up certain natural processes. It was a horrifying clue. Finally, the children's own voices fell silent. Not their real voices, but their digital ones. Lily and Jack each had a tablet. Police examined the records. On the evening of May 1st, both tablets were being used. There was normal activity. Games, maybe a video. Then, At almost the same time, both screens went dark. Both devices are locked. They were never unlocked again. The digital lives of two children ended at the same moment. The story from the house was clear. Something sudden and terrible happened around 9:45 p.m. The home was then turned into a place of unnatural heat and deep silence. The children were gone, not in the morning, but in the night. But feelings and data from machines are one thing. The police needed physical proof. They needed to see what the human eye had missed. They brought in a chemical called luminol. You may have seen it in movies. It is a spray that detectives use on surfaces. When it touches even the tiniest, oldest, most cleaned-away trace of blood, it glows with an eerie, bright blue light in the dark. They sprayed it in Jack's bedroom. The floor glowed blue. They sprayed it in the bathroom Lily used. The tiles, the grout, the lower part of the wall, all of it glowed with that ghostly light. The pattern showed not a small cut, but something worse. Something that had been spilled, smeared, and frantically cleaned up. They took samples of that glowing residue. For months, scientists worked to pull a genetic fingerprint from those tiny, degraded stains. And they succeeded. The DNA from the blood in Jack's room was Jack's. The DNA from the blood in the bathroom was Lily's. Science now had its first undeniable fact. Lily and Jack had shed blood, a significant amount of it, inside their own home. There were no hospital visits. No reports of an accident. Just this hidden, terrible truth, revealed by a blue glow in the dark. So the police knew a crime had happened in the house. The next question was the most haunting one of all. Where were Lily and Jack now? The massive ground searches had found nothing. But what if the children had never made it to the deep woods? What if they had been much, much closer? The investigators turned into gardeners of the macabre. They took samples of soil from all over the Sullivan property. They weren't looking for objects. They were looking for chemistry. They analyzed the dirt for the unique chemicals that come from one thing, and one thing only, the human body breaking down. And in 3 separate, secluded spots on that property, near the tree line, behind a shed, the soil told its story. The chemistry was positive. The earth itself held the chemical signature of human decomposition. The pattern suggested shallow, temporary graves. The children had been on the property, buried for a short time, and then moved. This explained why the searchers found nothing. By the time they arrived, the children were already gone. To find out where they went, the police turned to the most common witness in the modern world, the cell phone. Daniel Martel told police he was home all night, except for a quick trip to get gas. His cell phone told a different story. In the cold, pre-dawn hours of May 2nd, his phone stopped talking to the towers near his home. Instead, it connected to towers 10 kilometers away, in a remote, wooded area. His phone placed him there at 5:30 in the morning for about 20 minutes. This digital fact was backed up by a human witness. A delivery driver on his early morning route saw a truck like Daniel's pulled over near those woods. He saw a man take something from the back of the truck and walk toward the trees. The man came back a few minutes later, empty-handed. The final piece fell into place with Daniel's truck. Police brought in special dogs, cadaver dogs, trained to smell the scent of human decomposition. When these dogs were brought to the truck, they went straight to the bed of the truck. They signaled, clearly and strongly. The scent of death was in that vehicle. Forensic technicians took the truck apart. In the tiny seams and cracks of the truck bed, where a hasty cleaning might miss, they found a terrible mixture. They found soil that matched the Sullivan property. They found tiny leaves and twigs that matched the remote wooded area. And they found degraded DNA, the broken-down genetic traces of both Lily and Jack. The story was complete. The silent witnesses had spoken, and they all told the same, consistent truth. Something terrible happened in the house on the night of May 1st. The children's blood was shed there. Their bodies were kept on the property, buried in shallow graves for a short time. In the early morning of May 2nd, their remains were driven in Daniel's truck to a remote wooded area. They were hidden there, where they remain to this day. But there was one final, chilling layer. This was not a sudden, angry accident. The digital footprints showed planning. In the week before the children vanished, Daniel used his computer to search for things like, how long do missing person cases last? And forensic investigation techniques. Malia searched for industrial strength cleaners and what breaks down biological material. She then ordered those heavy-duty cleaners online and paid extra to have them rushed to her home. They arrived 2 days before Lily and Jack disappeared. Malia also did something else. She requested the day of May 2nd off from her part-time job. She asked for it 8 days in advance, telling her boss she had a family matter to handle. This was not a spontaneous tragedy. It was a planned and prepared for event. My friends, when you look at all of this together, it is a crushing weight of evidence. The smart home data, the blood evidence, the soil chemistry, the cell phone records, the dog alerts, the DNA in the truck, and the pre-incident searches and purchases. Each piece supports the other. They form a chain of facts that leads to one inescapable conclusion. The official story of the 2 children who wandered away is gone. It has been replaced by the story the evidence tells. A story of a crime, a cover-up, and a journey in the dark to a final, lonely hiding place. For 7 months, the public wondered and worried. Now they wait for justice. The police have built their case not on a confession, but on cold, hard, corroborating facts. The next steps will be in the hands of the prosecutors and the courts. This case teaches us a solemn lesson. In our modern world, truth has many allies. It is in the data we forget about, in the chemistry of the earth, in the timeless scent of death that clings to surfaces. A lie, no matter how loudly or tearfully told, cannot stand forever against the quiet, patient voice of evidence. The silent witnesses have given their testimony. Now, we wait for the world to deliver its verdict. Thank you for walking through this difficult story with me, with thoughtfulness and compassion. This is Joseph, signing off for now. May we always have the courage to listen for the truth, even when it speaks in a whisper. Good night.